Good evening, everybody. Lovely to see lots of you here tonight. Hope you're all well. Liz and Karen, just so that you know, it was a bit fine. I cut it a bit fine to get here. But here I am. And you will have seen, I hope all of you on the screen, Saver, that this is a prop intensive class. So if you can have 4 blankets, if you can have a belt, you may or may not use that. If you can have a brick or something like a brick, if you can have a piece of wall and or a chair, you'll see this is towards the end of the practice. We're going to use all of these things. So you also know that I think you know that over the last few weeks of this block, we've been steadily working our way up the energy vortices or the energy centers or chakras from week to week. So last week we were in the heart space and the anahata. And this week we've come right up to this area of the throat and the neck. And it's a very, very sensitive part of the body for lots and lots of reasons. If you think of the fact that it simply connects our brain and the rest of our body with lymph, blood, nerves, our vocal cords are right here. This is the center of how we express ourselves verbally to the world and how we also receive, we hear, or we're able to listen to what other people express. And partly for that reason, partly because it's a sensitive area, whenever anything is taught in yoga around the neck, the invitation is to really, really look after yourself. So if you're in a position, and I say, please don't move your head when you're in this position, please do what I say. If I was in the river room, I'd be there to take care of you. But I'm just really, really aware that this is a vulnerable part of the body. And there'll be options all the way through to do things that are completely safe. And it'll be up to you to choose where you want to take your practice. So with all of that said, please find an easy seat, and you could be on the floor like me, but you could equally be on a chair. And come to settle. Sometimes if we've been rushing around like I've just cycled to get here on time, everything can feel a bit bubbly, a bit vivacious. And it's just lovely to close the eyes and notice how it's possible to drop quite quickly into the ground. Into a sense of being here with the breath and the body. So take your time, settle right in. And the first thing I'd like you to do as you continue to settle is see how much you're able to release in the soft palate of your mouth, so the roof of your mouth. In the throat and the root of your tongue. Noticing what it feels like to maybe become a little bit more spacious in this part of the body. And something you can do just as an experiment is to take the tip of your tongue up to the place where your palate, your soft palate, meets the top of your teeth. And just lightly place the tip there, and it might or it might not work for you. For me, it creates a lovely sense of stability within the spaciousness. And it invites a releasing of the jaws as well. And then quite briefly, quite quickly, can you trace your spine up from the very base of your spine, following it all the way up past the kidneys, the shoulder blades, until you come to your neck. And even by bringing your attention to the spine like this, you might feel as if you're breathing a little pocket of space in between each vertebra. And then when you come to the neck, maybe visualize the point at the very tip of your spine, now inside the skull, where your skull rests. And of course, there's a whole complex of bones and tendons here. And then very delicately, with your attention on the tips of your ears, invite the tips of your ears back a notch, just a couple of millimeters. And maybe you'll feel a slight lift from the back of your cranium, the back of your skull, to create ever such a subtle lengthening in the back of the neck. And then see if you can draw your jaw, your lower jaw, a notch back a bit. So you're not bringing your chin to your chest. So it's all very technical. Hopefully you can feel your way into the sense of the length of the back of the neck. And a little bit of almost like the sense of a membrane in your throat. We're working with the Vishuddha Chakra, which happens to coincide with the Jalandhara Bandha. It's like a net, like a membrane in the throat that allows all of the fluids, all of the hormones, the blood and the lymph to flow and to filter through this net. And as you sit here and simply sense into the subtlety of this part of the body, energetic and physical, can you roll and you release your shoulders a little bit back to release the shoulder blades on the spine? And if you know what I mean by an ujjayi breath, ocean breath, you can begin in this delicate pose to constrict the back of your throat and feel the ocean breath moving over your vocal cords and maybe resonating in the cavity of your mouth that you've created space within. Can you take a few more breaths, inviting as much softness into your face as possible? And if the energy around what it means to have a clear voice, to be able to speak your truth, interests you, if it's maybe challenging for you. Or maybe sometimes you feel you have a less than strong voice in the world. Then of course use the next few moments to choose an intention that's relevant for your practice. Otherwise, choose any intention that's right for you and take a few more breaths. Keep softening in the throat, the root of the tongue, and in the soft palate. And you're absolutely welcome to continue breathing like this or to join me chanting 5 rounds of Om. So this is where we express ourselves from, so we can use our vocal cords. And with the Ujjayi breath, we're already doing that. So I'm going to breathe in and then I'm going to chant 5 times. And you just find your own rhythm to do so if you want, and the chant can be internal. If it is external, see if you can feel the resonance of sound. So coming to the top of a breath in. And when you've come to the end of your final chant, simply bathing a few moments in the vibrations of the sound. And then opening your eyes. So this is quite a subtle practice today, because something that I didn't say earlier is that as we move higher up the energy centers, we move from the earth to water to fire to air in the heart space to ether in the throat. And so we're becoming ever more subtle. And if we're really interested in attuning our energetic bodies into our daily lives, then it means tuning into these more subtle ways of being at the same time as remaining rooted and earthed. And I hope that this progression through the chakras is helping us do that. I'd like you to come down onto your backs, and you can grab anything that will elevate your chest. We're coming into a supported fish to really open out the space that we've just had slightly constricted. So you could have a rolled up blanket if you find a brick is just too uncomfortable. And I don't want to over instruct where you put it, but it's pretty much across the back of the ribs. You might have the lower edge of the brick where just beneath where the shoulder blades meet, or you might find it's better to have the upper edge of the brick. It will depend on you. Or you might have the brick or the blanket right across where the shoulder blades meet. Lovely. And what I don't want is for your head to be hanging. So my head comes to the floor here, I'm fine. Or if for whatever reason you don't want your eyes for too long but beneath your heart, you might take a cushion or a block under your head. And the arms and the shoulders can just release back. And you could have your legs completely extended or soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. And we'll take 2 or 3 minutes here to come into this supported back bend. And for our purposes today, an opening in all of the ducts and tissues of the throat area. So once you've settled, can you come back to that softness in the palate of the roof of the mouth, the throat, the root of the tongue? And of course, if you really love the Ujjayi breath and it brings a real focus and richness to your practice, then continue breathing with that slight constriction. And allow the shoulders to gently rotate externally. We're really facilitating the full breath coming into the lungs here. So we're connecting the heart space with the Vishuddha, the throat chakra. And stay very, very close to your breath. I'll leave you a few more moments here. How soft can you become? How open can you become? So maybe something I didn't make entirely clear when I talked about this Jalandhara, this net in the throat area as a membrane. If you recall in the earlier classes, we were working with the diaphragm and also with the pelvic floor as similar types of membrane, which we are able to harness with this delicate energetic pull. So they're sometimes referred to as locks, energetic locks, bandhas. And the word lock is quite misleading. Ultimately, in Hatha Yoga, one of the purposes of what we do in the physical practice is to allow energy in the base of the body, the earth energy, to move, the kundalini, if you like that kind of terminology, to move up the central channel of the spine, all the way up past these more subtle realms out through the top of the head as we become more and more sensitive, more and more aware. And one of the functions of these 3 bandhas is to harness and direct that energy. It's very subtle and it's not going to be of interest to everybody. But today we're actively working with all 3, but particularly the harness in the throat. Beautiful. Take a full breath in. Come to the top of your inhalation and exhale with your mouth open. Take 2 more breaths like that. One more breath. And then if your legs are bent and out to the side, use your hands to gently draw them in again. And roll ever so delicately whatever it is that you've had underneath the back of your ribs. And please remove that now. Before coming straight to lie on your back again, take a moment to settle here, because you'll feel sensation in the back of the ribs. And then when you're ready, join me on your back. And I'd like you to have your knees bent. And just for a moment, take your thumbs around to the back of the skull and see if you can feel that little indentation as you come into the center right at the bottom of the skull. And with your thumbs gently slide the skull along the mat a little. So we're creating that sense of length in the back of the neck. And maybe here you can feel a little bit more of an engagement of the throat. Please don't worry if this is just not happening for you. We'll come into the physical practice anyway, and you might feel a little bit more of what's going on. And all we're going to do is come into some moving bridges. So when we breathe in, we're going to come up and open the throat. So you take your chin back, and when we breathe out, we come down and encourage the chin a little bit more into the chest. So when you're ready, breathing in, pushing into your feet, lifting your arms over your head as you lift your hips and your head rocks back. You can pause here. And then breathing out, come down slowly and subtly. Your arms come down, the spine comes down. And maybe you feel a gentle suction of your throat as you draw your chin in a little bit, long in the back of the neck. And that's all I want you to continue doing for now. In your own time, breathing in to lift. Breathing out, come down. Feel every millimeter of the movement with the breath. Some of you might notice that as you come down, there's a simultaneous gentle lift of the pelvic floor and the diaphragm under the ribs. So all three of these membranes, of these energetic harnesses in the subtle body, become engaged. It's a very advanced, subtle practice to tune into the bandhas, and it absolutely doesn't matter if you don't do that right now, or ever. You can feel much more physiologically into what's happening with the neck and the throat and the jaw. Can you take 2 more moving bridges like that? When you've come down for the last time, taking a moment to feel the body really dropping down through the shoulders, the back of the ribs, the back of the back of the pelvis. And then bringing your hands and interlacing them behind your head. Now, when this is the first warning in terms of looking after your neck. We're going to do a moving bridge again, but at the end, when you come down, I'll show you. You're going to use your hands to lift your head a little. Now, there's absolutely no strain here. You don't have to come up high. So please, please, please listen to your body. Just like we did before, inhaling, lift yourself up and lift your chin away. can feel the pressure on the back of the shoulders, the upper back, and then breathing out, slowly come down bone by bone, at the same time as peeling your shoulders and upper back off the floor. Your elbows might come close together. And then inhale. Lift the hips as you take your head and your arms back down again. And exhale. So this is a really lovely way of accentuating this sense of what's going on in the throat, I think, as well as being lovely for releasing the spine, coming into the full range of motion. So our neck vertebrae, our cervical vertebrae, actually have the biggest range of movement out of all the vertebrae of the whole spine, and for that reason we have to really take care of ourselves. Can you take 2 more full rounds? And when you come down for the last time, again, simply lying, arms out to your sides, shoulders rolling out, and drop down through the back of your body. Notice how you feel. You might like to draw your knees into your chest and have a little bit of a massage, a little bit of a circle over your lower back. And then taking your knees in the opposite direction. I'm going to just move my way over a little bit here. I'd like you to keep your knees in towards you now and take your arms out in a T shape. And breathe in, and as you breathe out, bring your knees over to the left. So it's going to be quite a lot of instruction to come into this very delicate twist, moving twist. Turn your right palm down and see first of all how much you can release into the right shoulder and shoulder blade. And then just breathing freely, slide the right palm on the floor towards the body. And then float it over the body to keep the contact with the body, the hip, the leg. And you'll find that your head rolls in until your right palm finds the left palm. And as it slides past the left palm, turn the palm to the ceiling as you continue to circle the arm round to the right. You can move your head and then turn the palm down again. So it sounds more complicated than it is. Palm down as you roll all the way over, past the left hand, and then turn the palm up and sweep. So you're making the most lazy, large circles as you can. And the slower you are and the looser you are in the body, so that you allow the whole body to respond to this moving twist, the better. And at some point you might like to lie open, both palms open, looking over towards the right hand. And take a few breaths here, dropping into that right shoulder and shoulder blade, and breathe. Very soft still in the tongue, the roof of the mouth and the throat. Bring your head back to neutral, and then lift the left knee, followed by the right, and take a moment in a neutral spine here before we take that moving twist to the other side. Bringing your knees in towards you. Inhale and exhale, drop them to the right. And look over your left shoulder. Turn the palm down. And slowly with the breath, begin to slide the hand towards the body. Move your head as you roll all the way over. The hand sweeps past the right hand and then turns, palm facing the ceiling, as you continue the circle all the way around. Keep going in your own time. Remember to move the palm down when you're on the left side. And as you pass the right hand, turn the palm up and sweep around into that left shoulder. It's such a lovely way of releasing tension in the shoulders, by the way. You could do a whole practice just exploring this movement. It would be fantastic. Until at some point you might like to stay open, looking to the left, palm facing up, and completely release the body, particularly inside the mouth. Drop into that left shoulder, shoulder blade. And then bring your head back to neutral. Lift the left knee, followed by the right, so both feet come down. And just for a moment, slide both feet away so you feel the whole body. So we're doing very simple lead up, if you like, a very simple preparation of the body today for variations of shoulder stand. And that doesn't mean you have to come into the full pose at all. So in the preparation, we're not doing anything alarming. We're doing things that we're familiar with in order to become very aware of the energy and the tissues around the throat and the neck. So if you'd like to join me now in an all fours position, coming up whatever way works for you. You might like a blanket underneath your knees. And all I'd like to do is come into our very familiar and beloved cat-cow movement, but with the focus on the throat and the neck. We quite often have the focus on the lumbar spine or the thoracic in the ribs. But I'd like you to keep your focus, almost initiate the movement from the throat. So coming into that neutral spine's long in the back of the neck, throat, the chin drawn in ever so slightly. And then breathing in, begin to lift the chin and open the throat and notice how the rest of the spine responds. And from the throat, breathe out and draw the chin in again, but you're not tucking your head right under, you're just bringing the chin in. Keep the back of the neck long. Breathing in, open. And breathing out. And if you are aware of what's going on in your pelvic floor and your diaphragm, use the next few breaths to notice how there's a harnessing. There's an engagement of these three membranes. As you exhale, a gentle lift from the pelvic floor, diaphragm up and under the ribs, and this little lift in the throat. And the next time you exhale, you might like to draw back to child's pose. And as you inhale, you come up, open your throat. Ujjayi is lovely to practice when you do this. Exhale, draw yourself back, chin towards the sternum, but not too far. And continue with that movement. And you can continue to child, or if you want to, come to a soft downward dog. And even here, experiment with lifting the chin and then drawing it back again, but with that sense of the tip of the ears drawing back. So you're not just curling the neck at all. You keep the length in the back of the neck. It's all in the jaws and the throat. So whether you're in child and moving between cat and child, or you want to breathe in child, or you're in downward dog, we'll take 5 breaths together. Keep the softness in the throat and the mouth. It's so easy to clench in the area that we're focusing on. One more breath in. And please meet me now, breathing out on all fours. Beautiful. So when we take our legs up in the air, it's important to have a strong abdominal core. So we're going to do just a very familiar movement here to encourage that engagement. So take your left fingers forwards, your right foot out. For some reason in this class, I'm telling you all what goes into designing a class. It's not really necessary, but now you know sometimes what goes on, what we're preparing the body towards. On a breath in, lift the left arm, the right leg. And now slowly on the breath out, bring the elbow and knee towards each other. And take 4 more, and this is quite strong. Really condense the abdominal muscles back towards the spine. Chin comes in. If doing 5 continually is too much for you, or for your right wrist, for example, have a break and then start again. I'm taking my last one, I think. What's going to be my last one? I'm not sure if I've done 5. And then drop your left hand and right knee down. And you're going to take that to the other side in your own time. Remember, you're taking 5. Left foot, right hand. Inhale, lift. Exhale, draw everything in, compress it all in. Take 5 or 4 more. I think this is the last one. And then drop the right hand, the left knee down. And rest briefly in pose of the child. You can take your knees out. Arms extended or hands underneath your head. And allow the whole body now to soften. Come to your breath. Wonderful. We're going to make our way gently up to standing. If for you that means coming via downward dog, then that's lovely, do that. Or you might prefer to simply come to standing. I'll leave that to you. If you're in a downward dog, looking between your hands and walking your feet forwards. If you're standing already, if you'd like to come into a forward fold, so we dangle over the legs. Feet are hip distance apart and parallel. And just for a moment, notice my knees are quite bent. Allow the shoulders, the arms, the head to drop. This lovely decompression in the spine. And when you're here, see what it feels like to roll the shoulders in big circles. You can use your arms. You can take maybe 2 or 3 in one direction and then go the other way. It feels very good to me. And then I'd like to explore our bandhas again as we move between half forward fold and forward fold. So on the inhale, your hands could be on the shins or on the floor. You're going to straighten your legs and lift your heart. And on the exhale, draw that little movement of the chin into the chest, long back of the neck. Maybe you can immediately feel my pelvic floor and diaphragm coinciding. Take another breath in. And then exhale, fold completely. And see how those bandhas are accentuated possibly. Breathing in, come up halfway again with that length in the spine. Breathe out here. Take another breath in, really long from the top of your head out through the tailbone. And then draw yourself down. Let's take one more. It's so good for the spine. Breathe in. So much, breathe out, come down. So much of a yoga practice is about how we direct prana, energy up the spine. Beautiful. And then breathe in, come up halfway. Breathe out, hands to your hips. And press through your feet now as you breathe in and come all the way up. That feel good to be up. And we're going to come down again in a minute, but I just want to do one preparatory thing before we do. And for this, if you've got a belt, that would be wonderful. So on Monday, we just stood with the belt behind us, but I'd like us today to come into a version of Warrior One. So if you'd like to take a step back with your left foot, holding a belt behind you or holding your elbows, that's fine. What we're looking for is an external rotation of the shoulders. So if you're holding the belt, turn your palms to face outwards to either side. So you're rolling the shoulders out. Lovely. And then take a breath in and breathe out, bend in the front knee. So let's find the stability in the legs. Now you could do this with your hands really wide apart if you're stiff in the shoulders, or it could be that you don't even need the belt, you could clasp your hands together. You find what you need. The belt allows you a little bit more freedom for movement. Now find the strength in your abdomen, the strength in your legs, and take a full breath in and feel the opening in the heart space, and breathe out here. Take another breath in, and now leading from the heart, breathe out and lean forwards, and allow your arms to come as far as they will over your head. Beautiful. And you could take a couple of breaths here. Keep rolling the shoulders out, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and keeping that softness in the mouth. At some point, push through your feet, come all the way up. And we'll just do that 2 more times and come down. Lead with the heart. It's all about opening the shoulders. Great if you've been sitting at a computer. Take one more if you're able. turning the hands out. And next time you breathe in and come up, step your feet together. And have a little shake if that's best for you, or you might want to come straight into the other side. Take the right foot back, the left foot forward. Inhale, turning the palms out, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Exhale, bend in that knee. Firm in the legs and the abdomen. Breathe in and find that buoyancy in the chest. And then from the heart, breathe out and lead forwards. Humble warrior, this is called. Allow the arms to come only as far as is right for you. Take a couple of breaths here. Before you inhale, come all the way back up. Just take a couple of these movements. Finding freedom in the shoulders. Find the stability and the strength in the lower body. And the next time you breathe in and you come all the way up, step your feet together, release the belt. Have a little shake of your wrists and of your arms. So the time has come to gather all the props, the 4 blankets, the chair, the wall. I'm going to get a chair. Stupidly had the chair stuck behind the camera, so just have everything handy. I just need to kind of give a health warning. If you're someone who has any neck issues for any reason, anything to do with the cervical discs, or if you have issue with pressure in the eyes, or anything that if your doctor has told you that you shouldn't take your eyes beneath your heart, then I want you to come to the first variation of what we're going to do and not to go any further. And then I'm going to lead anyone else through certain variations of shoulder stand. All of that said, there's one thing I'd like us to do first. You've got all your props. I'd like us to do something that can help enhance an awareness of this throat harness. And this is all enriching the Vishuddha Chakra. If you've got something to elevate your head, not something high, something low. I can't remember if we did this on Monday morning. You're going to rest your head on the block or on the blanket, and you'll notice this actually really helps you have a sense of the chin coming in. Your legs are extended. Become really heavy in the shoulders, heavy in the pelvis, and then grab hold of the sides of your mat and begin to pull them towards your feet. And that is all we're going to do for a few breaths. My experience here is that it's elongating the back of my neck, and I have a really quite powerful sense of suction in the throat. Don't stop breathing. It's just an awareness exercise. Can you take a few breaths here and become even softer in the palate, softer in the root of the tongue and in your throat? And breathe. If you're experiencing a sense of suction upwards, however delicate, that is the Jalandhara Bandha. And Jala in Sanskrit means net. Imagine it filtering all the hormones. Imagine the thyroid gland that affects the whole of our metabolism is right there, close to the vocal cords. Imagine the blood and the lymph all of these vital fluids moving through this narrow area of the body. What does it mean energetically? Take one more deep breath in and then release. So, variations of shoulder stand. First of all, if you have any of the problems that I mentioned, this is a version of shoulder stand. Taking your legs onto a chair and just allowing the whole body to relax like that. That's absolutely fine. You could do it with the head on the block to accentuate the throat. The other option is to come up against a wall and take your legs straight up the wall. That is a variation of shoulder stand. These two variations are called Viparita Karani, and very, very rejuvenating. All the benefits of the shoulder stand in terms of rinsing old lymph and blood from the extremities down into the respiratory and circulatory system happen in these variations. So it's great. Please do that if you have any problems with your neck. Otherwise, I'm going to show you two variations and you can play with me with both of them and then choose which one you want to stay with. This is more, I've got my 4 blankets folded up here, neatly folded. And this is more like an intermediary shoulder stand, using the chair to come into a bridge type pose. Can you make sure that your chair is on your sticky mat, so you're absolutely safe, that you're not on a carpet and that you're just it's going to shoot away? If we're in the river room, we'd have special chairs with rubber pads on the bottom of the feet. And then the blankets are really important. They need to be neatly stacked. And when you, and I can never remember how far I need to be from the chair, but I'll find that out when I start doing it. The important thing about the blankets is that you need to line up your shoulders, so at least about 10 centimeters from the edge of the blanket, so that your head is on the floor, but there's quite a lot of space, because once you lift yourself up, your shoulders are going to shunt backwards, and you want them still to be on the blankets. Now, 2 things I'm going to say. Please don't move your head from side to side, even here. And remember, this is a shoulder stand, not a neck stand. So if you put pressure on your neck, that is just never, ever going to be a good thing. But our upper backs and our shoulders can take a lot of pressure. Oh, and now I remember the distance from the chair. You need to be able to hold onto the legs of your chair. I'm really sorry. Now, if you're comfortable where you are with this, bend your knees and bring your feet to the edge of the chair. And begin to push into your feet to lift yourself into a little bit of a bridge. So there's quite a lot going on. I'm not going to stay here. I'm just demonstrating this. But what I'd like you to do is make sure that your head is on the floor, your shoulders are pressing into the blanket, and you're able to really pull the legs of the chair in order to lift your hips as high as works for you. So as some of you know, I have an issue with pressure in my eyes, and I can really feel it when I come up, so I'm coming straight down. So that's one variation. If you find that already challenging, or you might really love it, stay where you are. The other variation is to use the wall instead of the chair. Now, if there are people in the class who just love shoulder stand and love plow pose and want to go ahead with all of that, please do. I'm just going to move the camera so that I can show you the wall. There we go. Oh, that's good. And take the electricity mains out of the computer at the same time. So here you've got your blankets next to the wall. And you basically want to be able to take your bottom about, I don't know, let's say 20 centimeters or a bit more away from the wall. And you line yourself up on the blankets in exactly the same way. So your head's on the floor, but your shoulders are about 10 centimeters at least from the edge of the blanket. And then this is a great way of practicing shoulder stand for people who are nervous about coming into it. You begin to press your feet into the wall as you lift yourself up. And depending on how high you come up, you might be able to take remember not to move your head. You might be able to take your hands to your lower back. And you might be very, very close to being in a shoulder stand. If you wanted to, you could take one leg away from the wall, or you could walk your feet all the way up. Or you might stay with your lower legs parallel with the floor. So I wish I had longer. I'm gonna go 5 minutes over with this class. I hope that's okay for you all. There's a lot to explain with a pose like shoulder stand. So whichever variation you've come into, please take 5 of the deepest breaths you've yet taken, with all that softness in the mouth, the throat, the tongue. And you need to come down very, very, very carefully from your shoulder stand. If you've got your legs up the wall, just gently coming down by bone by bone. And if your head lifts, that's absolutely perfect. And if you're landing on your blankets, roll over so you can remove your blankets. And take a moment here with a neutral spine, maybe knees bent, just to feel the neck, the shoulders, the back of the ribs. So if we had longer, we would spend longer in shoulder stand because it's one of the most calming poses in the whole of the asana repertoire. And it's something I miss very, very much in my own practice these days. So there's a counter pose for what we've just done, just to open everything out again that we've compressed. And that is one of the poses that we started with. We're going to end with a supported fish. So please find either your rolled up blanket or a block again. Or if you don't need to be supported in your fish, we're just looking to lift the chest. And either have the legs extended or knees out to the side soles of the feet together. And this now should feel really quite lovely. Take your chin back and all that compressing, all that massaging of the thyroid gland, of everything around the throat. Allow everything to be flushed through now, open and soft and receptive. And breathe. And on Friday morning, we've got half an hour longer to do exactly the same class. So if you're interested in inversions, shoulder stands, it'll be, or if you're interested in the Vishuddha Chakra, there's just much more time for me to take you through it all. So you're welcome to stay in this supported fish for as long as feels right. You might want to be there for several minutes. Remember to come off very carefully. And you have a choice once you've come off to either lie completely flat, wrapped in a blanket nice and warm, or to end your practice elevated in a supported goddess pose, reclining goddess, bolster on top of a brick. It might be a very, very nice thing to do. If you've been breathing Ujjayi breath, please stop that now. And simply notice the quality of your breath. Softening in the tissues of your face, the roof of your mouth, your throat. And settle for a few minutes here. If you had an intention, a sankalpa for your practice, you might like to invite it into the foreground. And I just want to thank you very, very much for joining me. I will put on the screensaver now for the next class, but do take as long as you need to settle. Or you might like to practice one or two of those variations of shoulder stand with all the caution that I recommended.